Sometimes we assume the best, and sometimes we assume the worst, and we all got assumptions. What happens in my experience, I'm talking me personally, I've been tempted to have assumptions in this communication bit, and out of those assumptions, I'm basing everything that I'm hearing, seeing, reading, whatever the communication type that I'm getting, and then I'm getting angry out of my assumptions. And at the same time, my pride elevates, and I don't want to take responsibility for my assumptions. The reality is there's a little word in there that comes out. When assumptions are in there, if we take out certain words, oftentimes that can lead us to what we could become. I'm not going to say that, but y'all following me. Anger shuts down communication. When anger is there, a wall begins to erect between communicating parties. One of the things, if I can give you just a real practical tip in communication, and I don't have it mastered. I try to do it, but I'm not always there. Is that in a situation where communication is starting to be miscommunication, and maybe assumptions are there, and maybe you got experiences, culture, emotion, insecurities, those things are jumping off, I try to give that person the benefit of the doubt. That if I'm saying, man, they must be really thinking this about me or about my family or about whatever, I try to give that person the benefit of the doubt. Well, maybe they're not really meaning that way. Maybe their computer was caught on caps lock. Maybe they just had a bad day and I happened to step in at the wrong time. Benefit of the doubt. The second thing on our roadmap to better communication out of James chapter 1:19 is this. We need to be slow to speak. Slow to speak. Proverbs again says this, answering before listening is both stupid and rude. Answering before listening is both stupid and rude. How many times have you been quick, maybe in your relationships with your spouse, or maybe your kids, maybe at the job, whatever it happens to be, and you've been quick to, maybe it's a topic that you're passionate about, and you're quick to say something, and then you find out, I spoke too quick. I didn't hear the full story. My assumption got in there, and things didn't come out the way I should. We need to control what we say. The tongue can destroy. We need to control what we say and how we say. We are responsible for those things. And sometimes in the matter of communicating, sometimes we get pride here where we are saying, man, I don't care. They just got to accept me the way I am. I'm going to just say it however I want because I am, whatever the case may be. And our pride is there, and making effective communication is not the goal. The goal is, I just want to be me and everybody else just better lump it. Or the flip is true. Because I didn't hear it the way I wanted to hear it, man, bump it. We need to speak wisely. Part of being slow to speak is that when I say that I'm going to do something, that I promise to do something, that I'm about this, that I do it. And the third part of speaking, being slow to speak, is that we elevate the rule of no cutoffs, no interrupting. In my family, growing up, my dad and my dad's mom and dad were terrible at that. We'd be at the dinner table and we're talking about whatever, and I went out and we played basketball today. Hey, the business today was blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, huh? Interrupting. For me, that's hard because there's stuff that I want to say, right? And there's stuff, especially when miscommunication happens, right? Then we got sides. We got A side and B side, and now there's there's issue, there's drama, there's passion, there's energy there. And my wife's looking at me. There's issue there. And one of the things that Joanna and I have to remind each other is, shh, let me speak. Let me speak. What happens when we cut other people off is not only that it's rude, but it's counterproductive for effective communication. And what it says is, what I have to say is more important than what you have to say or what you feel, and pride rears its ugly head once again. And it destroys effective communication. So we need to be slow to anger. We need to be slow to speak. And James 1:19 says the third thing that we need to do, and that is to be quick to listen. Proverbs 29:20 says this: "There's more hope for a fool than for someone who speaks without thinking." One person said this: "How well people listen is highly indicative of how much they care about others." Another person said in our connection group, awesome quote. Person said, "We remember what is important to us," or somewhere around in there. What is important to us is what we end up remembering. Part of being quick to listen is that it's not just about hearing, right? Our culture is about hearing. I heard you. There's times Joanna tells me to do something in the house. I'm watching the NCAA or the NBA game, and I'm in it, right? And she said, "Babe, could you do this, whatever?" And yeah. I heard her. And then later she comes, "Hey, why didn't you do it?" I was like, "Well, I didn't hear that." And she's like, "Yes, I did." And then sometimes we, get a little passionate. This passionate anniversary is coming. So. Passionate. Listening is not just about hearing, it's about understanding. In our communication, it's important as a part of the receiver that we listen to what's being said. That's also important when you're sending information, that you're hearing what another person says. What is effective forms of communication to them? What are they saying that they can receive? If a person is a text message person, hey, pay attention. If they're an email person, pay attention. If they are a phone call person, pay attention. If they are, y'all tracking? Making sense? Quick to listen. Not only do we need to understand, but we also need to remember. What is important to you is something that you remember. It's so important in communication when all these different things funnel into communication that would like to destroy communication. And on top of that, there's a spiritual battle that goes on. There's a reality that Satan does not want us to be in harmony or in peace. So we got a spiritual battle that goes on that wants to divide and split apart people. The second thing, there's the natural, the reality of how we're made, our flesh, our sin, our bodies, our culture, our experience, our emotions, our insecurities, our assumptions factor in. And if we strive to understand and if we strive to remember the communications and things that are there, it goes a long ways to make an effective communication. But when it doesn't happen, when we don't strive to understand, when we don't try to remember, it begins to show a pattern that we really don't care. If your kid's coming to you and they're saying, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, when can we go out and play ball?" And you're saying, "Well, tomorrow we're going to go out and play ball and we're going to spend the whole afternoon." And then tomorrow comes and it doesn't happen and the little son's coming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, you said we were going to play ball." I didn't say that. Yes, you did. It didn't move from not only hearing, but listening and understanding the importance and remembering. Because now the little boy is like, I might try it again, but there's damage done. Part of the struggle for us in our modern society is this. With all the different forms of communication, remembering is one of the things that seems to be sinking, right? Depending on your type of personality, maybe age sometimes factors in there. Early on when I was in college, I could remember most of the dates for my papers and everything that was due all in my head. I wouldn't need to write stuff down or put anything down. I was good to go. Later, maybe it was due to having more things on my plate, more responsibilities. Maybe I'm just getting old. I've got to write things down. And as a result, I have to take responsibility for what's been communicated towards me. Recently, I had someone call me up and said, yeah, you ready for this concert, this event that you said you were going to DJ for? And I said, what event? Because I kind of knew what this guy was talking about because I remember vaguely we had had a conversation. And he said, no, it's this week. And I was like, but you didn't tell me for sure. And I'm starting to get A/B assumptions, all these other things are coming in, my experiences with people not confirming things and showing up to a place and they didn't do what they needed to do. All those things are factoring into our communication. I was at work, so I couldn't talk to him on the phone. This is on text. Dangerous. And we're going back and forth, and I said, I kind of sensed he was frustrated at me by some of the language, not raunchy language, but just the seriousness of his words that he penned or text. And I was like, okay, I need to find our original piece of communication we used where I talked to him, dug up on Facebook, and found that I did confirm with him. Now, I feel this small because that was the same Friday that was the last game of the basketball thing for the church. Somewhere that I really wanted to be at. Now I'm in a pickle, as they say. I'm messed up. What do? As much as I wanted to say, man, sorry, you're gonna have to find someone else. I had to honor and take on the responsibility and take whatever came with that and take on the responsibility for me forgetting something I committed to. Too often in our society, in our culture, remembering, we're like, oh, I didn't remember. Okay, cool, whatever. And we don't take responsibility for those things. Sometimes what we need to do is simple. Some simple things, some things that we can put in. We need to write it down. We need to put it in our cell phone. We need to put it on the fridge. We need to tattoo it on our hand. Whatever works for you so that we remember. Where does this all lead? 1, loving your neighbor as yourself. Communication is important. Loving God with everything that you have. Communication is essential. When it comes to sharing, the most important thing ever to share with anybody is the love Jesus Christ has. Communication is essential. And if we don't get this right, and we are operating out of all this, and miscommunication is always happening around us, and we can't work through those and take responsibility, sharing the most important thing to ever share with anybody gets clouded by all that other stuff. So let's remember that communication is a two-way street, and that effective communication is the goal, and that ultimately God's word is a roadmap for effective communication. Be slow to speak, slow to get ticked off, and quick to listen. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for your word. I thank you when it knocks me upside the head and shows me what is true, what is ugly in my life. Lord, I pray that you would shine that light by your Spirit, work in the hearts and minds of everyone who hears this now or hears this via web. God, I pray.